Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're going to take a break from politics to talk about space with Misty Snopkowski. She's the NASA program executive for commercial spaceflight. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
When COVID was crushing our economy, one leader went to work. Catherine Cortez Masto passed a common-sense rescue plan for small businesses, tourism, and schools. But Adam Laxalt is standing in the way, opposing relief for Nevada's economy, says no to lower prescription drug costs for seniors on Medicare. He even opposes the expanded child tax credit for working parents. Adam Laxalt won't help Nevada or our economy. SMP is responsible for the content of this ad.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted to welcome to the program Misty Snopkowski. She is the NASA program executive for commercial spaceflight. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we normally talk a lot about politics, but I thought it would be nice in the middle of what has already started to be a crazy political season to have something completely different. There has been so much excitement lately about space travel with these commercial flights. And I know that there is a special on Netflix. There's a 5-part series on the recent SpaceX flight that had civilian travelers on there, and of course James T. Kirk, William Shatner on the Blue Origin flight. How realistic is it at this point in time for us to think about a regular person going into space?
Oh, I think it's super realistic. I mean, it was just demonstrated by SpaceX with their Inspiration 4 launch. They had 4 regular people go up to low Earth orbit for a few days. So it's been demonstrated that it can be done. And then, we've also recently seen the suborbital flights with Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic. So it is a really exciting time for human spaceflight. I'm excited to see this happening during this point in my career. And then also just from the NASA perspective, we're doing a lot of exciting things to enable more people to go into space. We've got a proposal or solicitation for proposals that went out in August for new commercial LEO destinations. So the vision is that once the space station retires in 2030, we'll have these commercial LEO platforms in low Earth orbit so that more people can come into space, live, work, do more research, even come up there for tourism in the latter part of the decade. And so we got a really strong response to that solicitation. We got about a dozen proposals, and so that's all in the evaluation right now. But so all that is just really exciting time for human spaceflight.
Okay, so we're looking, at 8 years out as far as this is concerned. What kind of pricing, has there even been discussion of that? I mean, I was trying to come up with a guesstimate of what to compare it to, and I was thinking maybe a business class flight from LA to Sydney, Australia. Is that in the ballpark of where you might be able to fly into low orbit space for $10,000, $12,000, or is that way too low?
Well, so I don't have exact numbers that I could share as far as pricing goes, but the vision is to have more people in the space, and to try and do that from a access and transportation perspective. Competition usually helps drive down costs, right? And so in the commercial crew program, there are two providers that are working on transportation right now. So we've got SpaceX, and then we've got Boeing. And so the thought process is that, once you have that competition, that helps drive down costs over time. We've seen that in other modes of transportation, right? And so we're hoping that as these companies have more experience under their belt and they can get more people up into space, that cost will come down. Now, I don't know if it's going to come down to, what your example is, flying from LA to Sydney, but we do hope that one day that there's a price point where there's more access for people to space.
For those folks just tuning in, give us a little background on yourself, because it is not a usual thing to have lady engineers in space, but you've been around. I mean, you look very young, but you've actually been in this business quite a long time. Tell us how you started out and what your inspirations were.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, I had a physics teacher who talked a lot about his daughter who was an engineer. And that really piqued my interest. I didn't know what an engineer was when I was in high school, and I think that's probably a pretty common thing for kids in school. They can't envision what an engineer is, but once I learned more about it, it's essentially a problem solver, right? And then combined with just my interest in math, science, and space, I was always really interested in space movies and space shows. I discovered what an aerospace engineer was, and that just seemed like the perfect fit for me. And so I ended up getting my undergrad at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, and that's where I got my aerospace engineering degree, and that just kind of kicked off a whole career in aerospace that's been really fulfilling. I've gotten to do a lot of cool things with NASA, and it's just been a lot of fun.
And I would be remiss if I didn't point out, because I've read a lot of stuff about you, that Star Trek and Star Wars were great influences on you back in the day.
Yes. I used to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation every night. It was on every day, I think at 7 p.m. And so I would do all my homework, and then I would watch that show every night, and when I was in middle school and high school. So I really enjoy that show. It has a special place in my heart. But I also like Star Wars, so I'm not one of those people that has to pick between the two. I enjoy both Star Trek and Star Wars.
For young women who are watching this program or listening to this program across our platforms, what do you say to them about the opportunities to get involved in engineering in the field that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, I would just encourage them to go for it. I know a lot of times it can seem intimidating. I do recall, when I was in college, I would a lot of times be the only female in the classroom. But I do think that's improving, and just have confidence in yourself that you can do it too, that you belong at the table. And if this is something that you really want to pursue, it might not be an engineering degree. It might, you might want to do something more on the research or science side of the house. But either way, if it's something that you're passionate about, you should just go for it.
In Nevada, we have Creech Air Force Base, which is huge, and we have the Fallon Naval Air Station, which is the home to Top Gun. So we have a lot of military and pilots in our state, and we're also home to the Reno Air Races, and a lot of former NASA astronauts have come to Reno to fly in the air races over the years. And so I think a lot of Nevadans are very excited about what's going on in space because of that. Let me ask you this. The projects that are coming up seem to be more exciting than anything that we've seen in years. And there was a lot of excitement about the space station when it first went up, but now it's kind of become commonplace. But now we're talking about going back to the moon. And can you share a little bit about this first moon mission and what its purpose is?
Yeah, so our first moon mission, we're targeting February of 2022, and that will be a demonstration that won't have people on it yet. And then the plan is about 2 years after that first demonstration mission of landing on the moon, we would land our first female and person of color on the lunar surface. And I would say that what's different with this mission compared to the Apollo mission is that NASA is working to have a sustainable presence on the moon, so that we can actually learn how to live on another planetary surface. And all this is building to a bigger, grander vision of being able to send people to Mars.
So the question that people always ask about a Mars journey, I mean, first of all, how long would it take with our current technology to get from, say, the moon to Mars?
I think the fastest is 8 months, and that would be, literally having the planets align so that you could get there in that amount of time with our current technology.
So it wouldn't be necessarily any kind of one-way trip. I mean, people could go there and be able to return to Earth.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be the mission to go there and come back.
Do you have desire to go into space yourself? Because you're an engineer, so you're not an astronaut. But when you see those booster rockets lift off, do you have a desire to join in?
So I've always been one of those people that I want to help people go into space, but I myself, I know I wouldn't be able to do it. I get motion sickness very easily, so I don't think it'd be a very fun experience for me. But I do think it's awesome that folks that want to go up and actually experience, what space travel feels like. I think if I didn't get motion sickness very easily, I would probably want to go for sure. But I can't even go on a roller coaster.
Well, I'm with you on this, but I know that from that recent Netflix documentary that there is medicine that you can take apparently that can help you with that, but I'm not sure I'd be trusting that, and I wouldn't want to inflict that on my fellow passengers. You've been working with SpaceX for a long time. What was your first involvement with them, and what was that like? Because, government agencies and private industry, don't always work so well, but in this case, it seems that it worked very well.
Yeah, when I first started working with SpaceX, we were in a Space Act agreement, which is a public-private partnership between the government and industry, and we were working together to modify their launch site down at Kennedy Space Center. They had just acquired the launch site Pad A, LC-39A, which is the same launch site that Apollo launched from. And so I worked with them over the years to start modifying that launch site. And then eventually they did get awarded the Commercial Crew Transportation Capabilities Contract, which is known as TCAP contract. And so under that contract, I worked really closely with them to make sure that they were fulfilling our requirements that we needed for the launch site, also all the operations involved with the launch site and their launch control center, and all the training that's involved in that. And so that was a lot of work leading up to our first demonstration launch with them, where they demonstrated that they could launch off that launch site and then dock with the International Space Station. So that was a lot of fun working with them on that.
Is there some sadness at NASA that the fact that the International Space Station will wind down here within the decade?
I mean, I don't know if I've really run into anyone being sad per se. Everyone is excited about the new opportunity of commercial LEO destinations. Obviously we love the space station. We're going into our third decade of the space station operating up in low Earth orbit. And it's an exciting time because you can kind of look at it from the perspective that the first decade of the space station was all about assembly and putting it together. And then the second decade was us kind of learning how to efficiently operate and utilize the space station. And now we're in this third decade where we're seeing all of our results from the space station, all the research and science and technology demonstrations that are occurring on the space station every day. We're starting to reap the results of our investment into this, huge station that we have in low Earth orbit. And then as we go into the fourth decade, we'll be winding down, retiring the space station in about the 2030 timeframe. And then at that point, we would transfer over to commercial LEO destinations, which would be owned and operated by commercial industry. And so I don't think it's really like a sadness. It's just an exciting time. There's a lot going on.
Is there concern that at some point there'll be too many craft in space? Because right now we have a lot of satellites up there, and there's a lot of debris up there, which does make it a little riskier for space flight. What are the concerns about overpopulating, low Earth orbit initially, at least, or around the Earth?
Space debris is definitely something that is always a concern and a risk that I know the space station tracks, and then our commercial providers, when they're getting ready to launch, that's always something that we're keeping an eye on is space debris. As far as it being too crowded up there for other spacecraft, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think as long as we continue to track the orbital debris, we'll be mitigating that risk. But I do know that we're trying to figure out ways to make sure that our spacecraft aren't, putting themselves at risk to get hit by any orbital debris.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more on NASA and the latest things with space exploration. What an exciting topic. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this timeout.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're taking a break from politics today to talk about space travel. What an exciting topic. And we're thrilled to have with us Misty Snopkowski. She is the NASA Program Executive for Commercial Spaceflight. Who thought in our lifetimes that we would actually be able to have this kind of conversation? The Hubble telescope obviously has brought us incredible images once its eyesight was fixed. But now we're going to have the Webb telescope going up. What is the excitement connected to that? It's going to be an incredible advance over Hubble.
Yes, it will be. It's not really an area that I've ever been involved with, so I don't know too much about James Webb, and I just know that the launch is coming up soon, but I haven't actually had to interface with that particular satellite in my career.
All right. How many countries do you think at this point in time have or are about to have some form of space station? Because it seems like a lot more countries are getting ready to launch.
Yeah, so what I can tell you is right now on the International Space Station, there's about 15 countries that are involved. And there are 5 different space agencies that are involved. So you've got NASA, Canada's Space Agency, ESA, which is the European Space Agency, JAXA, which is the Japan Space Agency, and then Roscosmos. And so all of those space agencies are involved with the International Space Station. We also just recently saw that China has their own space station up in Leo, which is also exciting. And so there's a lot of countries that are becoming involved in Leo. And then, like I had mentioned earlier, just within the United States, we're trying to also spur this commercial industry to also have commercial LEO destinations in low Earth orbit.
Okay, so we talked about potential space flight for ordinary citizens, but I'm thinking that the way things are going, for example, with drones, and where we're seeing drone delivery starting to come into reality here in the United States, at least. What kind of commercial uses would we see beyond carrying personnel?
Oh, well, right now we do have a commercial cargo program at NASA. And that was actually one of the things that kicked off this whole commercial strategy that NASA started to embark on. But that was a program that was in place even before the commercial crew program. And that is utilizing SpaceX and orbital spacecraft to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. And so those aren't manned missions; they're just filled with supplies to bring up to the space station, and that's all through a commercial cargo delivery.
Yeah, I guess what I'm suggesting is that do you envision a time when we'll be delivering cargo? Right now at our ports around the country, in the United States and in Asia. Everything's stacking up because you can't move things from one place to the other at this point in time. So I'm wondering, are there thoughts in advanced planning that someday this would become, cost effective to be able to transport things in lower Earth orbit from one country to another rather than just to a space station and back?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, maybe that might be a concept that somebody comes up with. I don't think that's anything that we're working on at NASA right now, though.
Okay, darn. So Amazon has not come up with next hour delivery by space shuttle. Okay, let's take another break and we'll be right back. More on NASA after this.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn,
the Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your furnace breaks down today, we fix it today. Why freeze for days while your furnace is down when Nevada Heating can get the job done today and you can get warm again? For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 and we'll fix it today. That's 323-5585 or online at nevadaheating.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, taking a break from politics today to talk about NASA and what's going on there, because there are some very exciting things coming up over the next couple of years. Misty Snopkowski is the NASA Program Executive for Commercial Spaceflight. So tell me, what is the most exciting thing that you have been involved with NASA in your time there?
Oh man, the most exciting thing.
Because you've been through a lot.
Yeah. I would have to say it was probably the SpaceX demonstration launch, the Demo 1 launch. We had worked so hard for so many years to modify the launch site and make sure that everything was ready. We had gone through hours and hours of safety reviews and requirements reviews and design reviews. And so I remember the months leading up to that launch just so exciting to see the hardware to finally come together. It all arrived at Kennedy Space Center. We started assembly, integration, and testing of all the hardware. And once it all got stacked up and rolled out to the launch pad and was, all together out there in real life on the launch site. And it wasn't just, on a PowerPoint drawing anymore. It was a really great feeling to see all that work come together. And then when we successfully launched, that was a really pivotal moment in my career. It was a lot of fun, a lot of emotions. Everybody was, just so happy that we got to that point, and it was a really successful mission.
So Misty, if people want to keep up with what's going on at NASA at this point, NASA has its own TV channel. It's on most cable stations and satellites, and also Nat Geo. And so what is the next thing that we should be looking for?
Oh, well, I'm really excited to tell you that we have a launch coming up. So the SpaceX Crew 3 launch is happening on Halloween, on October 31st. Let me make sure I get the time right. It is 11:21 p.m. So that's local time for you guys. And so you can watch that on NASA TV this weekend.
Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. What a delight to be able to talk to you, and what an inspiration for women to become engineers and get involved in STEM education. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I hope to have you back. Bye-bye, Misty. And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Don't forget, another way of watching Nevada Newsmakers is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. We'll see you on the next broadcast.